Morning and welcome to our video broadcast. My name is Stuart Wilson from More to Life, and I'm delighted to be joined today by the other Stuart Wilson of the equity release industry, Stuart Wilson, CEO of Air Group. Welcome today, Stuart. You and I together have been in this the financial services industry for many years, haven't we? I won't say exactly how long for, but many years. Yeah, more. We can probably count that more fingers than we've got on our collective hands. But and we've been through some extraordinary periods of time in the financial services industry. Lots of things that have challenged us and hit us. This is, I think, this is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, isn't it? I mean, what's it been like for you personally, and obviously all your team down in Gloucester? How are you coping with the challenges of COVID-19?
Yeah, I think it would be pretty sensible to start that precursor this, Stu, by saying that we've never known a situation like this. And I think somebody said to me last week that this is reminiscent of the 2008 situation, but I think it's very different. I'm not saying it's worse or easier or anything else. I think that it's very different. 2008 was an economic challenge that swept across the world. So in that way, yes, there are similarities, that this is sweeping length and breadth of the world. However, I think the big challenge here that we've all had to face into is that this changes radically day by day, the situation that we're now in. What I'm really delighted about, and I think I try and take the positives out of every situation, and what we've got now is a situation where across the industry I've been pretty blown away, to be honest, by some of the positive moves that some are making and how businesses are adapting and facing into this storm. And I think we at the Air Group down in Gloucester, I've been really impressed with my team. Everybody's embraced the new technology. We've shifted very quickly. We've moved operations to home working a couple of weeks ago. So we were quite ahead of the curve and reacted very swiftly. And the technology hasn't let us down in most cases. We had a few telephony issues the first couple of days, but that was to be expected. But other than that, yeah, I think we've adapted very well. We've switched more onto using online chat, video conferencing like this. What will be interesting is when we come out the other side of this, which undoubtedly we will. I think somebody said to me a couple of weeks ago or last week, we'll get back to normal. Well, what is normal? Because I don't think we'll get back to how it was. We'll go to how it will be. A lot of changes in how we all operate, both reactive and proactively, how we conduct meetings, how we embrace technology. This is going to give an adrenaline shot into businesses using more technology at point of sale and right the way up the food chain. So no, adaptation, I think, is the buzzword.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. Actually, I think I'm an eternal optimist. I think the silver lining I take out of all of this is that actually, as we do come out and exit the other side of this issue, the industry will be better for it in some ways. I think we will find that the new ways of working are actually a better way of working, and the digital transformation of our business, which this issue is kind of forcing us, or many of us, to go through, is going to be no bad thing. But you must have been on the phone with lots and lots of your members over the last week or two. What are the kind of the core issues and concerns and things that they're talking to you about? What's on the minds of advisors across your membership right now?
Yeah, a huge variety of calls. If I'm honest, there's no single theme. There's no single concern. We see what we have seen is probably 200-300% increase in our call volume and our online chat volume. And I think it's nice for us because Air Group has always been about support. The commercial side of the business is a byproduct of the support, not the other way around. So I think really what we've tried to do in the last week or two, and some of the things we've got planned, which I know we'll come on to later on, are around how we can upgrade that support, how we can give more answers. So talking to brokers across the whole spectrum, ranging from small sole traders working at home, right the way up to CEOs of some of the bigger firms that we engage with and some of the networks. There's a couple of core themes, and again we'll loop back to these later on, but I think there's some real issues, or certainly in the last sort of week or so, there's been some real issues as the lenders have reacted themselves to resource how they're going to face into this storm. So there's been issues around the legal process. Obviously, when the government announced a week or so ago only very, very necessary and essential travel, that pretty well took all the surveyors off the road. So suddenly actual surveys in people's homes went. That's a big issue that the lenders have been dealing with. And the second one that came simultaneously, so it was a double blow for all of us in this sector, was the face-to-face legal requirement and the requirement for independent witnessing face-to-face of the mortgage deed. That came as a sort of a dual blow that we had to address. So if there was two common themes, those are the most common. But around that, there's also been support requirements that we've been asked for around guidance on how to work from home, how to work remotely, how to provide and deliver a non-face-to-face advice process. And I guess if we were to put that into a sort of theme of support, it's how to keep those wheels turning. And those have been the real questions around the small issues for somebody that might sort of look at that and go, well, that's easy. It's not easy for everybody. So brokers are a huge spectrum of different experience and different business profiles. And what Air Group has tried to do, and continue to do so moving forward through this storm, is to provide those answers, those questions, those guides in simple format. What there is out there, quite interestingly, is a huge amount of noise, and much of it is white noise. So we've got to really try and, I guess one of our uses is as a filter to translate all of that noise into some salient, pointed answers to advisors' questions. How do I do this? How do I do that? And yes, that might be a simple answer to somebody, but to the person asking it, it's a question they have no answer to. So our job as an organisation is to try and bring those answers to brokers' sort of desks, if you like, so they can proceed with their business and navigate through this ever-changing horizon. Because the one guarantee that is without question for the next few months is change, and it's change by the day, by the hour, by the minute. And what Air Group has to then do, and I'll come on to that later on with some of the plans that we've got, is to help ease through that period of change and to support our members as best we possibly can, and to filter that white noise down to proper, detailed, accurate information. But I would say accurate at 9 AM is then changed by 10 AM. So we've got to keep on top of this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Things are changing hour by hour and sometimes minute by minute. I want to pick up on a couple of the points that you raised there, because I think they are the most critically important, aren't they, to not only advisors but actually the industry as a whole, and that's valuations and the legal process. Clearly heavily impacted by the restrictions on movement and necessary travel, and obviously the social distancing regulations and rules that we're all working to. And I guess some advisors might be thinking, well, come on, surely all of this can just be done over the phone or can be done via the web. But it's not that simple, is it? And particularly in relation to the legal process, where you've got the necessity to have a witnessed signature on a mortgage deed, as well as the issues of desktop valuations, providing how accurate those valuations are going to be, is going to be clearly of a concern to funders and lenders in this industry. But there is now, isn't there, there's some shoots of good news, some green shoots of good news emerging out of all of this, and More to Life is part of that good news. We've got some good news around one of the products, one of the funders that now will accept semi-automated valuations through eServe, and there are other lenders in this market that are starting to make good noises there as well, aren't there? So there do appear to be some positive news, as well as the council making relaxing the standards around face-to-face advice as well. So there are some good news stories emerging here, aren't there?
Oh, absolutely. And I think it would be, I guess one of the things that's important to see here is that Air Group, I guess, have two customers. We have brokers and we have providers. And it would be remiss not to take my hat off to the sterling work that's being done behind the scenes that often brokers don't do. The broker's customer is the borrower at the end of the day. Our customer is both the advisors and the lenders. And I guess as a job, in simplistic terms, we need to sometimes bring those two together. And now, maybe more than ever before, this is absolutely what we can do to try and help advisors understand. It's not simply, as you've alluded to, if we take the valuation issue, a lot of brokers I did hear saying, well, why can't we just go to desktop valuations? Initially, it was, why can't we do drive-by? And then, of course, within 24 hours, the government had said, forget it, everybody's off the road. So that one went down. Then we moved to this, well, why can't we just do desktop? But you did reference something there that's vitally important to understand. There are many, many different layers here. This is, it's like an onion. Each time you take a layer off, there's another layer and then another layer. So if we look simply at the valuation issue, I was talking to a firm yesterday, and we were trying to clearly sort of define how this has to be seen from the lender's point of view as well. They ultimately carry the risk. When a lender is looking at a case, there are many layers to, is this good borrowing? Is this something that is going to be good today, but also tomorrow? So when it comes to valuations, for example, that asset will sit on that lender's books for many years. So it has to be scrutinized as understanding the value of that asset in years to come, not just today. So if you've not actually physically been in the property, you immediately, as a lender, have a concern or a range of concerns that you've not really seen inside the property. And it sounds glib, but you could drive by a property and it looks fine, but inside it's been stripped. There's nothing in it. So it may not be a good asset. So there's a balance here. And the work that's being done behind the scenes by the lenders, and you alluded to Hodge, have already come out and said, right, we have a progressive way forward. The work that's being done within More to Life, which is much more multi-dimensional, because More to Life have, as everybody knows, a number of funders. So each one of those funders, can you imagine, I guess the phrase herding cats comes to mind here, because there are so many different variables there. And all of those lenders quite rightfully have different priorities from their own specific requirements. They need to address those and secure those in their own peace of mind. And then they are very mindful of ultimately delivering products to customers through the intermediaries. And they've got to get all those parts of the chain all interlinked. So the work that certainly I know More to Life have been doing in the last week is just 24/7. And it is 7 days of the week. So this isn't a case of, in this current storm, providers are at 5 o'clock going home, or most of them are working from home anyway, so that might just be walking next door, but that's not what they do. The phones are going, the conference calls are relentless to get to a point where we can deliver a process that works. And I am absolutely thrilled that we are now on the cusp of getting those doors opening. We've got a couple already, which you've alluded to. I suspect we will see some of the other lenders in the next 72 hours or so come out with some indicative signposting as to their solutions moving forward, or indeed if they're going to move forward. And I think we have to be mindful that this is going to impact on rates, on loan to values, on process, on even down to the advice. So again, it comes back to this point. Our job is to cut out all of this noise, to disseminate that right down to, if you like, brass tacks, so the advisors can take what they need from it, but understand what sits behind it. And this is like an iceberg. For the bit that they see on the surface, there is 20 times more work being done under the surface by the legal profession. I've been in conference calls with all the leading specialist legal firms, the council, the lenders, just to understand, and as we touched on earlier on, this moves by the hour. So we had a prime example a week or so ago when the government stopped all movement, in essence, because, as I said, prior to that, we had a solution. Lenders were just on the cusp of going, oh, great, well, we can look at these drive-bys as an option. And then, boof, within an hour, the Prime Minister stands up, changes that altogether, and the horizon immediately looks different. So this is a moving game, and we've got to keep ahead of that and take charge of this situation, not be reactive. This virus is driving the agenda, but we've got to take control of that back as an industry and make sure. But I do refer back to the point I made earlier, the work that everybody is doing together. It's quite heartwarming to see the efforts being made, firms stepping up. Social media has gone wild, where everybody's sharing ideas and how to progress their business. So that's brilliant. That's what we need to do. Pull together, unite, strength in numbers. That's always been our our motto. And I think across the industry, we're now all starting to see the same thing. People are pulling together and we're all heading in the same forward direction, albeit step by step and small steps each time.
Yeah, I just want to pick up one thing you mentioned there, Stuart. I think it's really important. Current at the time that we are recording, Mortalife has got one funder over the line, so maximum choice is now open, fully open for business, with semi-automated valuations. I should stress that we're accepting applications across the piece, but that funder has now moved forward with semi-automated valuations. But the advisors should be aware, shouldn't they, that the market is going to look very different for a period of time, however long this crisis lasts, and possibly even for a little bit beyond the end, as we all start to get back to some semblance of normality. We won't have, or customers won't have, the full range of options available to them, and those that are available, there are likely to be restrictions and price rises, LTV haircuts, that kind of thing. So what the other bit of, I suppose, good news on the horizon is that one of the products that you secured for your membership, which is the Capital Choice Superlight product from Mortalife, that funder, we're not there yet, but we are close to hopefully agreeing a semi-automated valuation process there. So hopefully we get those guys over the line. That's another option that your membership has across the marketplace to offer customers. That's great news from a club membership point of view, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It really reflects the input that we've had, because this is a two-way flow. And I think that it's all very easy for us to sit back and go from a commercial angle point of view, hey, great, look, we're waving the flag, come to us, submit your business to us. That's not the point. The point is that it's our input from our members, our feedback that we've fed up the line into the providers, so they can factor in ideas and suggestions and ways forward. And that comes back down the line in the form of support we're now getting from having access to those products. So this is a partnership between us in the middle as the glue that cements the two sides, and the advisors, the independent advisors that are out in the market space, and the providers that are battling and moving forward into making sure that those wheels keep turning. And we've never put the message out that we're closed for business. We've never put the message out that the industry is closed for business. The message is loud and clear. We're here, we're operational, we're open for business, and we're there to support the advisors. There will be changes, and in any period of change, it's easy to get confused and panicked and worried, but the stabilizing influence is that strength in numbers thing. It's what we're here for. So if we've somehow managed to create that environment of positivity and business as usual, then that's a message that we want to shout from the rooftops loud and clear. Let's keep this working forward, because let's not forget, this is a demographic that, ironically, talking to advisors, is growing in popularity and demand. We've got to keep serving those customers, and they need the product now more than ever before. They need those funds often for real emergencies, real financial distress situations because of the crisis that we're all facing into. So we've got to keep this process and channel moving forward, and I hope that we've proudly been able to say it is business as usual, albeit in a different way. So let's keep the advisors up to date on those options to progress forward.
Absolutely. And just one final point, Stu, you mentioned it earlier, if we think beyond product solutions, what other support is Air Group looking to put in place then as we progress through this through this crisis and out the other side. What plans have you got that you can talk about today in terms of what you're going to be providing for your membership?
I think there's all sorts of layers to that. It's quite a long answer if I gave you the full details, but I'll give you the important bullet points. As of later today, early tomorrow, we're going to have a very much more robust reactive information site. Now, what we're aware of here is that advisors are being absolutely barraged by email updates. If they're working in the residential mortgage market, then they could have 60, 70 lenders, packages, distributing organisations, keeping them up to date on all sorts of things, software providers. Their inboxes are going red hot. They've got to filter through that. So if we added our emails onto that as well, then there's trying to hope that they're going to manage to filter through all that and deal with their customer inquiries and deal with their business processing and deal with the change of how they do business full stop. There's just too much. So we're launching a new feature on the website which will give all the very latest information, and we'll put a whole range of Q&A documents on there, guides of how to work remotely, how to offer an advice service without it being face-to-face during these times, how to transition back into systems as the environment and the horizon changes. And I think technology is a core part of that. We alluded earlier on to what will normal look like when we get back to normal. Well, it won't look like it used to. So that's going to embrace more technology, but technology is quite a challenge. And we've got to then make sure that we can help bring all the latest technology to brokers. There's a number of upgrades that we're launching into air sourcing. So there's a quick quote facility which is going to be going live quite soon. There's far more interactive downloads that we're expanding access into. And we're going to be doing a lot more webinar-based and video-based training options for brokers that they can plug into to suit their business profiles, they can download and refer back to. There's some very useful reference points at the symposium that we were all involved in a week or two ago. Some really useful material there, how brokers can embrace social media more. So I think this is change. Change must be embraced. We can't avoid it. If we sit in a bunker and hope that it'll all go away and it'll get back to exactly as it was, then the world will move on and we'll get left behind. So I guess our group really has to be at the forefront of bringing technology. One-to-one, we're not going to move away at all. In fact, totally the opposite. We've resourced quite radically in the last couple of weeks. More staff, more support, more online chat, more telephone based, more webinars, and that is just going to continue growing and growing. So we've got 6,000 members now. This with a huge diversity of need. We'll keep listening. We were given 2 ears and 1 mouth, and we'll use them in that proportion. So all we basically ask our members to do is keep talking to us. There's direct access email into even myself. If brokers want to talk to me, then they can do. My team are there. So really it's more of the same as we keep dealing day to day, listening and understanding what the changes are from government, cascading down through regulators into lenders and providers and software organizations. And then AIR will disseminate all of that and make sure the brokers have a comfortable home point of reference they can come to, get all the answers. And that's not a commercial pitch. We're here if they want us. We've always been here if they want us, and we'll continue to be here if they want us.
Brilliant. Thank you, Stuart. Thanks for your time today. And just a caveat once again, for those of you watching this, accurate as at the time that Stuart and I were talking. Clearly things are changing day by day, hour by hour, and in some cases quite literally minute by minute. So we will keep you posted. If you're registered with More to Life, obviously you'll get communications from us directly, and through the club you'll of course be kept up to date with all of the great new content and information that Stuart's just referenced that's going on to onto the websites and through air sourcing. So do keep an eye out for information coming into your inbox and the information you can access online. But thank you once again, Stuart, for joining us today. Really useful chat there. and we'll hopefully do some more of these as the weeks progress and keep you up to date with where we are. But for now, thank you very much.
Thank you.